Welcome everyone to Spirit of Health and Natural High Wellness Center. Our class tonight is a raw food demo on desserts. And I have to start the class out with talking just a little bit about sugar. Okay? Because we all like sweets and we all want to eat our desserts, and this is a healthy way to do it. But I want to really encourage and kind of drive home the point of how damaging processed sugar is. I don't think a lot of people have any idea, and people are looking for alternatives to do healthier ways of sugar. But I don't think people really realize that the reason America is so unhealthy is sugar. And I don't know, I'm sure people would argue with me on that, but the statistics show otherwise. And the main reason we have cardiovascular disease, we have heart disease, cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, high cholesterol, high triglycerides. We think of fat. It's not the fat. Okay, it's the sugar. Okay, for thousands of years, people have eaten approximately 15 grams of sugar per year. For thousands of years, all around the world. That was fruits and vegetables, and maybe a little bit of honey if they were lucky enough to have some bees around. Okay, it wasn't until about the mid-1600s that they started importing processed sugar from other areas of the world into England. And that's when disease started happening. All this cancer, heart disease, diabetes, things of this nature. In America, it's really scary what's happened, because it was 1966 when the Japanese actually invented high fructose corn syrup. And it was in 1975 that America started importing and using high fructose corn syrup. And same thing, our disease rates have gone through the roof since the invention of that. So the thing to understand is that sugar equals fat. Okay? You'll never get fat from eating good fats. You'll never gain weight or become unhealthy from eating avocados, nuts and seeds, olive oil, coconut. Yes, it has saturated fat, but you need saturated fat. It's because people don't understand. Well, I shouldn't say that. Most normal people, the average person isn't going to know this information, but the science and the research has been done. Okay? When it comes to sugar, what damages the body and what turns to fat in the body is processed white table sugar, and it's actually the fructose. Okay, it's fructose. That's why high fructose corn syrup is so damaging and so dangerous. So the question might be, okay, well, what about fruits? Okay, are fruits good for us? Okay, are fruits good for us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely they are. Okay, why? Because wherever God put a poison, He put the remedy. Okay, so fructose, even though it can be damaging to the body, when you eat whole fruits, it's in a fibrous base. It's surrounded by fiber. And fiber is what controls the absorption of that into your body, so that it doesn't go immediately to the liver and become a poison and toxic to the liver. I have seen so many amazing videos about sugar, and there's all kinds of great books you can read. If anybody's really, really interested in it, because it's such an important topic, I have an article by Dr. Tim O'Shea. It's called Sugar, the Sweet Thief of Life. It's a 23-page article that breaks down the science on how sugar is metabolized in the body when it enters the body. But basically, when it's fructose, it creates acetaldehyde. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, or I'm sure some people have heard of formaldehyde. Anything that ends in hyde is not good for us. It's like an embalming agent. It's a poison. It's a toxin. It's straight acid to our body. And when you eat white processed sugar, it turns into acetaldehyde. Okay, it's a poison to the body. And what happens is the body has to do one of two things. It either has to convert it and use it as fuel, and what it can't convert and use as fuel will turn into fat, or sometimes it'll get trapped in the liver, and that's why people get fatty livers. Okay? So an easy way for me to kind of drive this point home, if you eat lots of white processed sugar, you're an alcoholic. Because the effects that alcohol has on the body, white processed sugar has the exact same effects. The problem is that fructose, high amounts of white processed sugar, doesn't flip the switch in the brain that tells it that it's full, that tells it that it received food. Okay, there's 2 hormones in the body that are triggered when we're full. They're called ghrelin and leptin. Okay, fructose does not flip that switch. So in other words, we eat fast food, we eat processed food, we eat white processed sugar, these types of things. The brain, the biofeedback mechanism, the brain is never told that, hey, you're full. Hey, you've been satisfied. Hey, you have food. So we keep eating and eating and eating and never get satisfied. And that's what's happening in America. Unfortunately, America's not very good at admitting their mistakes. And they processed our entire food supply. And if you don't know this, there's only about 3 things that America makes money on exports. Does anybody have any guesses on what one of those 3 things are?
Sugar.
One is food, one is weapons, and one is entertainment, Hollywood, right? Those are the main things that America exports. If we had to tell the rest of the world the truth about our food supply, we'd be in trouble. Because our food supply is poison. And it's mainly because of the sugar and the high fructose corn syrup. So if you eat fast food, you're eating sugar. You're eating high fructose corn syrup in every single thing. There's only 7 things on a McDonald's menu that don't have high fructose corn syrup in it. And those things are things like coffee. Okay, I know that list. Okay, so I just wanted to drive home the point of the dangers of sugar, because we're going to eat sweet things, but we have to eat what we've had throughout history, which has been fruits, vegetables. You know, there's obviously natural sugars in some vegetables, and honey and things of this nature. If we eat the processed food, just understand that it's literally poison to the body. It's seen as an invader. The body either has to eliminate it, metabolize it, or store it as fat, or do something with it because it's foreign. It's a foreign contaminant to the body. And that's the definition of poison. Something that's a foreign contaminant to the body that it has to neutralize and eliminate. Okay, so did I make that point? Okay, cool. Any questions on that? On sugar or anything like that? Okay, well, I'm going to let Callie take over, and we're going to have some fun. So everything we're going to be using, like I said, wherever God put a poison, you put the remedy. When you use whole foods, you always have the fiber intact. It's always a whole food intact, so it's never going to be damaging or toxic to the body. Now that being said, of course, if you had a major candida overgrowth issue or a major infection or cancer or something like that, you'd still want to be careful with your sugars. But for the normal, average, healthy person, you don't have to worry about eating fruits and things like that. So, cool. Go for it.
Because we are using sugar. It's just
right.
The natural kind. You want to pass those back?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Emma. Thanks so much.
Okay, so we're going to start off with the strawberry jelly, only because it has to sit a little while with the chia seeds. But essentially it can be a jelly if you make it. It can be a jelly or a sauce. So you're probably thinking jelly, this is the dessert class. But it's kind of like a sweet syrup. If you want to add more chia seeds, you can always do that and make it an actual jelly substitute. And that is at the bottom here. And you can also, any berry, you can use anything. You can use blueberries, raspberries, whatever you'd like. So it's 2 cups of strawberries, and I go ahead and slice my berries before I measure them, just because it's easier to measure.
You took the green off this time.
I did take the green off this time. Okay. And then tonight for our liquid sweetener, we're going to use agave, and this is a really good brand of agave. It's from Ultimate Superfoods. There's been some kind of debate about agave and whether or not it's good or bad. And essentially, it's not as low glycemic as they claim it to be, but a lot of the lower end companies were actually just using high fructose corn syrup. So if you buy agave, you really want to make sure that you have a reputable brand.
And you want it clear.
And you want it clear.
If it's brown, it's been processed and heated.
So you want that raw too, raising it raw agave?
Right.
Well, it's all been heated. all agave's been heated essentially, right?
I don't think that the clear raw agave
There's
is.
some that's called raw.
I was thinking even the
Versus-
raw ones that heated to a certain,
I don't know. We'd have to ask.
I don't know,
Brandon.
yeah, we'd have to get into that. but
What's a reputable brand? When you,
I like the Ultimate Superfoods brand, and then that one's a little bit harder to find. What's something at like Whole Foods? It's
Most of the ones at Whole Foods are all brown. I mean, you can tell they're all processed.
They're
They've
called-
got it all in there.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
I'm
that
not
one.
sure.
Yeah, are you, so
That one.
you mean like the golden, you mean the golden ones? Those are the ones that have been processed and
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the generic brand. Because this is a lot clearer than the ones that you find at the store. This is, and normally too, at my house, I keep maple syrup and use maple syrup for everything if I need a liquid sweetener.
And personally, I do think maple syrup or honey is a better choice than agave, health-wise. I'm a big honey fan. Honey's awesome food.
I don't like honey because you have to get it to liquid state, and I'm usually like in a
Well,
hurry. So.
Yeah. I'm not doing all the fancy stuff she's doing though.
And I just juiced some lemons before I came. See if they're less messy. Okay, so you leave out the chia seeds, because if you put the chia seeds in a
Can you say what you put in there, the amounts?
The camera can't
2
read.
cups of strawberries, 2.5 tablespoons of liquid sweetener, and 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. So we're going to go ahead and blend that before the chia seeds. If you put chia seeds in a high-speed blender like this, you will get them to a powder. They'll still thicken, but they won't have the gel-like consistency.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, okay.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I can't remember. What are chia seeds so well known for?
They're omega fatty acids,
Yes.
and they actually, compared to flax seeds, I don't really like flax seeds. I find them to be hard to digest. Chia seed will digest without having to be cut in half or blended, whereas flax seeds, your body can actually not digest the flax seed unless it's flax meal.
Yeah, chia is actually my favorite source of fiber. I think it's the best fiber for especially like diabetics. It's a mucilage, so it's very slippery and it's very good at swelling and pushing things through the intestinal tract, but it's very slippy and it won't get stuck in the intestinal tract like a lot of people that have intestinal issues where nuts and seeds get stuck, like diverticulitis and things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to chia seeds. It actually has all 3, 6, 9 fatty acids, and it's a good source of protein.
Protein.
Yep.
So we just poured. Oh, do you want to rinse this?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Okay, and now we'll add the chia seeds. And you'll see, once they set, they kind of take on like, it's like a dot and then like an orbiting gel, if that makes any sense. And we'll do 2 tablespoons. Oh yeah, these are the exact same seeds that you put in chia pets. So if you're going to make this into a jelly, you want to probably double the amount of chia seeds, or at least 1.5 it. And you just want to make sure that they're all covered, and then we're going to let this sit, and then later on we'll pull it back out. You just let it sit out here, or we'll sugar it? Okay, so we'll come back to that. Let's see, we can do. Let's do the chocolate pudding next.
Yes.
Okay, this one is Vaughn's recipe, so if it's horrible, it's his fault.
Oh, ouch. Disclaimer.
Just kidding.
And if it turns out good, it's your.
But yeah.
Right.
Thanks to you.
It turned out good. It was my idea to put it on there. I've never tried it with bananas, so I don't know what if it has banana taste or.
And it's super duper duper good cold.
Yeah, this is
So,
awesome cold.
Yeah.
Super duper.
I'm-
This won't be cold, but I like it cold.
Yeah, I normally make it without bananas and then just kind of play around with the amounts. My grandma's favorite dessert, so I have to make it for at least once every couple of weeks. And so it keeps really well in your refrigerator. I am going to, but I'm using 3 avocados, but they're little babies, so I'm hoping it equals 2. And I'm hoping they're good whenever I cut into them.
What a great way to give your kids chocolate pudding, huh? I mean, I guarantee you all the chocolate pudding in the store has high fructose corn syrup in it. It's in everything, man.
Yeah, this is super filling too. It's pretty rich and unlike most puddings where it feels like you're eating air.
And you don't have to tell anybody it has avocado in it. 'Cause people think that's weird. But man, it's so good in there. Has anybody had pudding before with avocado in it? Nobody? You have? Okay. You'd never know it if you didn't know it was in there. Yeah.
Okay,
Good stuff.
It's one of my most favorite things to make too because you can put anything in it. Like in the summertime I'll do like lime, you can do lime extract, you can do orange zest, make it orange and do orange juice. You can do whatever flavors. The avocado just gets masked really, really well. You can freeze this too. Avocados freeze really well, and they actually don't freeze as hard as, say, water does. So you want to freeze it for a little while.
Do you know avocado is one of the best foods for women? Do you know why? Do you know what it looks like? You ever heard of the doctrine of signatures? Like a walnut looks like a brain. Carrot, when you slice it up, looks like an eye. What's an avocado look like when it's sliced in half? Who said that? Bing bing. Looks like an ovary.
You've never heard that before? I don't know if I'm intrigued or disturbed.
Well said.
Will this freeze well enough to like put it in a pudding pop for kids or?
Sure. Okay. Make popsicles.
I've got a question. I see you have is it the cake or whatever, that's the chocolate flavor. What's the difference between that or thoughts versus like carob powder?
Yeah, you can use carob. I know a lot of people who have chocolate sensitivities or have the caffeine sensitivity and they use carob instead. If you use carob, it's not as strong as cacao. So you normally want to up the amount by a couple of tablespoons. I wouldn't say double it, but definitely up it a little bit.
And I actually have a carob syrup in there. It's called Carob Power for people who'd rather do carob. But most people do that because they don't like the caffeine effect of the chocolate.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's health-wise, no, one's not better or worse than.
I think chocolate's much healthier, personally, but it's a lot more well-known benefits and studies and research done on chocolate.
Okay, so we're going to add the half teaspoon of vanilla. I'm doing a fourth since I'm using the powdered. If you weren't here last week, this is Ultimate Superfoods powdered, well, it's not really powdered vanilla. This is vanilla that's scraped from the beans. It's a little pricey, but it's worth every penny. You want to pass it around here?
Yeah, if you guys want to smell it.
It's really amazing.
And on chocolate, just for fun, there was a guy they recently interviewed who's 110 years old, and they asked what his top 5 food was, and the one food he said he ate every single day was chocolate. But not Hershey bars.
Can't be,
No peanut butter cups.
If a giant food company got a hold of it, it's been destroyed. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so these are the dates that we're going to use, and we're going to use them a jewel. I know I mentioned last week that Cashew is the best place to buy dates. They stopped carrying the Turkish dates. I know, it's really sad. I went there today. So now I've got to drive around to every Cashew tomorrow, and whenever I find them, I'm going to buy like 20 containers. Closet full of dates.
Actually, if you're interested, Callie, or if anyone else is interested, I know a guy who owns the China Ranch Date Farm in California. I used to drive there when I lived in Vegas, and I can order dates straight from his date farm. He grows like 13 varieties of dates. He's got honey dates. He's got all kinds of dates. So I order from him sometimes. So FYI, if anyone's interested, we can do a big order together. So.
Okay, so this is 6 dates, I believe. And you just want to make sure that you always pit your dates.
Vitamin mixes are strong, but not strong enough for a date pit.
And you can also, if you buy your dates pitted, go through them before you put them in there, because I've had dates that have not been completely pitted. And it sounds like you dropped 20 since your Vitamix.
It's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the 3 tablespoons of cacao, and since we're doubling it, that'll be 1/3 of a cup. You want to talk a little bit about cacao?
Cacao?
The difference between cocoa?
Yeah, so cacao, the word cocoa actually came from cacao. Cacao is the actual, has anybody seen a cacao tree by chance? You have? Where'd you see it?
Ecuador.
Ecuador? Nice. That's actually where this cacao comes from, is Ecuador. Cacao also grows in Hawaii, so it grows in tropical climates. And if you've ever seen the tree, it's really cool. It's actually a little pod. It's a red pod that comes right out of the trunk of the tree. It's the craziest looking thing. So, you know, we think our food comes from grocery stores, so it's really crazy to actually see it on a tree. But cacao is an amazing medicinal plant. They've actually found that it has the highest antioxidant content of any food known on the planet. The only thing I've found that has a higher antioxidant content is cloves, actually. So like clove oil, very powerful antioxidant quality. But obviously it has, you know, the feel-good hormones, theobromine, and other these types of things that stimulate neurotransmitter function to make us have that in love, that, you know, that happy feeling. But overall, it's just a very powerful food. It's the highest known magnesium content of any food on the planet, which we're all magnesium deficient. Magnesium does over 400 functions in the body. Cacao is loaded with magnesium. It's loaded with copper. Okay, a lot of people are copper deficient. That's one of the main reasons a lot of people start to gray, is copper deficiencies. So
It has 7 grams of protein per 2 tablespoons, which is 1 serving of protein.
but you only get all of what we just said
Awesome.
if you eat raw cacao. Okay? You go to the store and you get the 70% dark chocolate, all that. I wouldn't trust it. I mean, everybody wants to eat chocolate, so everybody's out there advertising, marketing, saying they got like good, pure stuff. Unless you actually get the straight raw cacao, you really don't know what you're getting.
And how you know if it's pure is the fat content. Like a lot of cocoa powders have between like 0 and 1 gram of fat, and that means that it's been heated and the fat's been taken out of it. Whereas really good quality cacao, like this has, I think it's like 6 grams of fat per 2 tablespoons, which is really not like cocoa, because this is actually the cacao nib just ground into a powder.
Where do you get this?
order this, but Vaughn sells it. So
Yeah, I have
we-
it.
Yeah.
Unless you want a 5-pound bag, I can order that.
That'll last a week.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna blend this. And what I was putting in there, I also put in the, okay, so the third cup of the raw cacao. I put a little bit of water in there, and then I also did a little bit of salt. I needed salt.
So you
What
could
sort of
you,
consistency are you looking for? Is this a desired consistency?
Yeah, I'd start with a third of a cup of water, because
Okay.
you're looking for like a
Like
pudding.
equal parts?
Yeah, like a pudding consistency. I make this a lot too in a food processor if I've
Sure.
got enough, and then that's always easy too. And actually, a lot of times you don't even need really water if you do it that way.
I think you could use like a nut milk or a coconut milk or something.
Yeah, totally. I put
Okay.
that. Yeah, you can use
Oh, okay.
nut milks.
You just put the Cashew sea salt.
Yeah, just a little dash. I would just do little plates. Do you want to do those little sear cups? I don't know. Count the number of cups I have in there. This is what I sometimes use it in food processing.
It's good to me.
I'm counting.
Chunky pudding.
Yeah, just keep going for a little bit.
All right.
Maybe a little more. No, got it. Okay. Yeah, if you don't have a Vitamix, definitely use a food processor.
And then you could top this with something if you want. I don't know if you.
We are going to.
Oh, we are. What are we talking about? Oh, the berry thing.
No, the cookie crumbs, the chocolate.
Oh, that's gonna be so good. So, want me to go ahead and put it in the cups, and then we'll put the cookie crumbs on after.
Uh-oh.
I'm kidding. It's probably gonna be really good as long as you look in it. Let's use the processor.
Can we go ahead and dish these up? Okay. So we're gonna put the cookies on it before we give them to people.
Okay, so this is really easy. Basically, a lot of these recipes are interchangeable that we're going to make tonight. So you can always make like parfaits, essentially. And you can always keep it in your refrigerator, especially if you have kids or whatnot, and always just like dash whatever you want on it. So if one night you want the strawberry pudding with the chocolate crumbs, you can do that. So it's all interchangeable.
So that lasts a while in the refrigerator then?
So it
Several
lasts
days?
about 4 days.
4 days, yeah.
3 or 4. Okay, so these are just raw almonds, and we're going to use, I measured out a bit more than a cup. Be a little bit loud. And we're just going to process these until it's almost like a flour-like consistency, but not kind of a little bit. Oh, I'm thinking that I'm facing it. mix it by hand, or we'll just mix it in a food processor. I'll pulse it. Easiest that way. 1/4 cup of cacao. If you guys want to pass this around and smell it, it's pretty amazing too, compared to cocoa. And then we'll do the 1.5 tablespoon of liquid sweetener. I also have the 5-pound bag of cacao butter. It smells amazing. So good.
Vanilla?
Need the vanilla?
Please.
What about that helps it to be a keeper? We learned last time that lemon juice helps.
Yeah, lemon helps
But
keep.
what helps that too? Since it has the avocado nuts.
You know, I think it's just
Just keeps.
naturalness.
Magic.
I'm like, I don't know.
You can always
what
freeze
helps
it.
keep. But you could throw in, if you wanted to like definitely make sure you were getting it, you could throw in a tablespoon or a teaspoon of lemon juice just to help out. And this, whenever I do the lime one, I never worry about it because I've got the lime juice in there to preserve it.
Dive in there?
Lemon and lime.
So lemon or lime, or grapeseed. Oh, I'm just, if you want to throw in different flavors, or you can always throw in. Mhm. There's a recipe for the chocolate orange pudding, and you can sub the, you can sub that for lime. You might want to drop the juice a little bit. And just pulse this until it kind of mixes.
Callie, what's the difference between palm sugar and pure cane sugar?
Cane sugar has been processed, and cane sugar is a fructose sugar, right?
So here's the interesting thing about cane sugar. Okay, I'm going to tell you something kind of funny. Cane sugar workers, okay, were munching on cane sugar all day long. Okay, they were thin and they were healthy, and they were eating sugar all day long. Okay, remember when I said wherever God provides fructose, He provides the solution, which is fiber? Okay, have you ever seen sugar cane? It's a stick. Okay, it's really hard to get the sugar out of it. It's a stick. So if you're eating sugar cane, you're never going to get too much sugar. It wasn't the workers in the field eating sugar cane all day that were getting sick. It was the owners of the company who were eating the processed, refined cane sugar that were getting fat and dying of diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. Because it's when you refine it when it turns into a poison, not when you eat it in its whole food form as a fiber. So all the sugar cane we eat that's in our food is all processed and refined. It doesn't have hardly any minerals in it, sugar cane, because it's a very water-heavy plant. You have to flood those fields, if you've ever seen sugarcane fields, with water. Constantly has to have water. So the roots don't have to grow very deep, so there's no mineral content and there's very little nutritional value. Unlike a palm tree, where the roots go very deep and has a lot denser nutrient content and denser mineral content, which is why it has a lower glycemic index. Cool.
And that is the sugar I'm using. I'm using palm sugar. So those are just the cookie crumbs, and you can put them on anything. And if you want more, if you want more chocolate or sweetener, etc., you can always alter it to your.
So is that ready?
Sure. So that's it. It's really simple and
Quite a bit. Don't waste it.
yeah, I'll put that in.
I left some in there on purpose.
What was that? What was the meter?
Okay, so if anybody wants any more of these cookie crumbs later, there's lots. So, do we have spoons? Yeah. So here, can we just start passing those around? I'm ready to get out.
Oh, spoons.
Does it taste like bananas?
You need more.
More spoons?
Oh,
Just
actually, I
have
got
to use your
one
finger.
extra one here.
Need more spoons? Okay.
I taste the banana, I don't taste the avocado.
So is that any good? Here you go. No. Is it too banana-y?
She does like a little bit. I don't care for bananas, but
Yeah,
if
you
it's,
can definitely do less.
I mean, it's good. It's just it's not my preference.
Do what?
Okay?
Callie, you do this exact same thing except you don't put any banana in it. Do you put something else in it?
No, I just use avocados in its place. So I probably use, instead of one avocado for that, I would do about 2 avocados, 2 larger ones or like 3 small, and then no banana.
You can taste the banana, but we don't taste the avocado.
Definitely, yeah, you won't be able to taste an avocado. And actually, I make it really dark too. So I'll up the cacao, so it depends. I mean, I've had people that really like the one that I make, and I've had people that don't like dark chocolate, so they don't like the one I make.
Dark chocolate is really good.
I like really bitter, dark things.
Better for you.
Oh, you were doing good.
I know, until the end.
And then we gotta use the pudding first. Strawberries. Okay, next we're gonna do the strawberry pudding. And the thing with this is that it actually is pretty interchangeable. If you want to make this and then freeze it, it can also be almost like a cheesecake filling or like a pie filling, a tort filling.
Right, exactly.
You can just have it as a pudding.
Or you can just eat it with a spoon. Same cashew stuff. Sounds really good.
Give me one too.
No eating. No eating on the job. Okay, so we're going to do the strawberry pudding, and it starts with 2 cups? 2 cups of strawberries. And I think I've got about, I shall see. I'm doing 3 cups, but do 2, follow the recipe. And then I probably have something what I need cashew-wise, so it'll work. Okay, these cashews have been soaked. That's why they kind of look not so great. And I soaked them just to soften them for blending purposes. Cashews are a really great substitute for creams, sour creams, anything creamy when you're trying to make a recipe and you need something that has that kind of dairy consistency and or color taste. Cashews are really great.
You have to put them out like on a towel or something after soaking?
I just, well, I'm usually using them right after so I pour them in a colander and rinse them.
How long do you soak them for?
About 3 to 4 hours. Cashews go 3 to 4 hours. Macadamia nuts don't have to be soaked. Walnuts and almonds need to be soaked overnight.
Almonds and walnuts soak overnight.
Yes. And those actually have the digestive enzyme inhibitors, and that's why you're soaking them, to reduce that enzyme, and then rinsing it off. Make sure you rinse it. Tablespoons of the sweetener. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. The coconut oil doesn't have to be melted for this because you're going to be putting it in the blender, so it's not a big deal.
Well, no, we put it in our drinks all the time. Is that coconut butter or oil?
It's coconut oil or it's coconut butter. It just depends on what people call it. So it has, the name is interchangeable. I think because it's solid at room temperature, people call it coconut butter, but when it heats up, it is an oil. Like right now with it being a little bit warmer outside, it starts to liquefy, and then in the summertime, it actually is completely liquid. It's nice. More chia seeds. And this is just going to act as a thickener. So in this one, they will get blended and they will get sliced, and they'll absorb the water and swell up. I'm going to start with that water and then see what we get. This is a great start for an ice cream or anything that you want to freeze. I think the best thing about cooking with raw foods is that if it's not working for you, just kind of play around with the recipe, because what happens is when you're soaking them, the water content varies from each time. I mean, even the humidity can affect something that you're cooking. Like you might have to add more sweetener or more water, or in the wintertime it might be a little bit more dry. Should we use more of the plastic cups? I was thinking plates, but I don't know what I was thinking. I went to the store. Great.
If you were going to use make it into a parfait, so you have these pretty layers.
Yeah.
What would some of the layers be? Strawberry?
You could do the strawberry with the chocolate, you could do the cookie crumbs, you could do the strawberry sauce, you could interchange that. Instead of doing strawberries, you could do blueberries. You could do, there's a goji crunch, you could even just do chopped nuts. There's the orange goji coconut crunch, you could do something like that. You could do dried fruit. There's a lot of things. If you just blend dried fruit with a simple, like a simple liquid sweetener with agave, you can use that as a syrup.
Is this ready?
Ready.
Man, it smells really good.
Yeah, right. And then, okay, so you can dish that on, please. And then I can make more of that. So this is the strawberry sauce that we started off with. And you can see how it's kind of, you know, chopped up. And then more chia seeds you use, more jelly it is.
Oh, so I'm putting this on here? Huh? Oh, okay.
Put this on top of that.
Yes, sir.
We're going to do the chocolate sauce fine.
What's that?
The chocolate sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Easiest chocolate sauce on the planet.
it really is. As long as, and I think my coconut oil is soft enough to just go for it. Figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just use a little fast. Brought everything and then remembered that I actually needed stuff like mixing bowls. Okay, so the chocolate sauce, super easy. It will, if you cut down, if you want to use a powdered, there are a few variations on this chocolate sauce. If you want to use a powdered sweetener, like a palm sugar, because palm sugar dissolves in water. If you want to use that, it'll make it thicker, and actually if you freeze it, it'll come out more solid. The agave is going to keep it from being, from solidifying completely. So if you use this kind of sweetener, it'll be a little bit more solid. Another option is to do, if you have access to cacao butter, I normally use cacao butter, and then that way when you, cacao butter at room temperature is really, really firm. And so it will be a little bit more firm, and again, you'll want to cut down on the sweetener. So depending on what you're doing, if you want to make chocolate covered strawberries, you just kind of have to alter the ratios, knowing that coconut oil is solid when it's cold, but agave is not. So we'll play around with it that way. Double this recipe. So 2 tablespoons, it's like a 2-to-1 ratio here. So 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. And if you want to get your coconut oil to a liquid state, just boil a pot of water and then put your jar down in the water for a little bit. And that will warm it right up.
We got 2, 4, 6, 8,
Quarter of a
10,
cup
12,
of
14, 16.
This container is way too big.
Can we go ahead and start hitting them up? That's right.
So this is going to be a little bit thicker because my coconut oil is not as liquid as it could be. And this would be another thing that you could add in your parfaits. Or just make a parfait of chocolate sauce. It's a quarter of a cup since I'm doubling it.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's another one that's really good
haven't even tried it.
As opposed to the chocolate?
This is good.
The chia seeds make an interesting texture.
Yeah, it's kind of jelly. And it's a great way then to get in your fiber and your fatty acids. So you wouldn't think in a dessert to get in your fats there. At least those kind of fats.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Mr. Doubtful.
I was never.
You were like, strawberry jelly, question mark.
In a cup?
Yeah.
Which is
It's good.
You with a little baby. It's very good.
Okay, so this is not as smooth as it should be. And I just have a feeling it's because the coconut oil wasn't melted. But you can see.
Did you know it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys want to go around and we have strawberries. I didn't do that one. Plates.
We should have a lot more of that.
Hmm?
We should have a lot more of that.
This is a fourth of a cup of agave, a fourth of a cup of
No, we should like quadruple the rest.
Do you like it?
lime sauce.
Maybe good for us.
You know, just get a plate and put some strawberries and do top of the strawberries. That sounds like fun.
Or you could just.
I'll play with it.
Should I make more? Add more to it.
Alright, let me use that. Oh, you need that. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. We can do it. We can do it. So I'm going to put the chocolate sauce on strawberries. So I don't know if anybody doesn't like strawberries. What else if they didn't like strawberries? This chocolate sauce is amazing for any fruit, really. Any nut, like almonds, it's amazing. Walnuts. I don't know what else. I mean, whatever you put chocolate on, right? It's awesome.
For sure.
What was that?
Okay, so I guess while Vaughn is doing that, I'll start on the cherry walnut brownies. And this is another one that actually you can, there are a few alterations. If you want to leave out, okay, so you'll see it says 5 to 10 dates, and that's quite a difference in servings. And that's because if you don't want a cherry or anything, if you just want plain chocolate brownies, you want to up your dates because the cherries are gonna down here are kind of acting as another sweetener. So that's kind of why the difference there. And you can roll these into truffles. You can put them in little miniature brownie pans. I do the little silicone brownie, little mini brownie or cupcake molds, the silicone ones. Press them in there and then pop them out. That's another way, but we're gonna press them into a pan. And then they're like 2-bite brownies when you do them that way. There's a lot you can do with this. You have walnuts.
I have a preference between English walnuts and black walnuts.
I like black walnuts because, or I like English walnuts because black walnuts have a really strong and different taste, and they're also not as buttery in a sense. They're a little bit harder. But black walnuts are awesome. Okay, so we're gonna grind this to kind of the same consistency as the almonds. start with walnuts. They're really oily as opposed to almonds, and when you let them, you over-process them, they get really oily, and the oil causes everything to separate. So you have to be a little bit cautious there. In the beginning, I just hit the process button and leave the room.
Now, were these soaked?
No. Oh yes, these were soaked, but if you're making this and you don't have a dehydrator, I wouldn't soak the walnuts, only because it'll make it a really wet mixture. So I soak my walnuts and then I throw them in the dehydrator. I do soak my dates, and I don't really soak the medjool variety that much, but I always soak the other varieties because they're a little bit harder. And actually, I always make date paste and leave it in my refrigerator. I always have a big thing of date paste, and then that way I never have to worry about doing this.
I'm good, thank you.
Here's the extra one you were
Show for it. Just pass the plate.
Okay.
Yeah, if I hand you a plate, the whole plate's not for you. Just kidding.
So I did 5 days. I went ahead. Did 5.
Can you swap other dried fruit for dates, or do you always use dates? The recipe calls for dates.
I always use dates because the flavor is neutral. If you wanted though, you could use raisins, but raisins have such a strong flavor. Yeah. So I just kind of always use dates. These are dried cherries. I always soak cherries because the natural ones that you get at the health food store are pretty hard. So you want to soak them to soften them up, or else they won't blend.
Can you hold up what the consistency looks like?
Yeah, once they're soaked.
I dried my own, is the reason I was just.
Oh, you do? I've never tried to dry cherries. Do you slice yours in half?
No, my mother-in-law has a tree, and so we pick them and then hit them and dry them. So that's nice. Yeah, it is nice.
That is really nice. So depending on how wet they are after you soak them, you'll want to cut down. You'll want to be cautious with how much water you add in the end.
Yeah, keep them going.
Okay.
So if you guys want more, I mean, here's more.
Here we go.
Just keep them coming.
Is it good? Isn't it great? It's really easy to make too. And again, you can use maple syrup, honey, or agave.
If you use maple syrup, does it give it a little bit of maple taste or no?
Not really, because all I use is maple syrup. So maybe I'm a little bit used to it, but I don't
Oh,
ever
be
use
about
it.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't use maple syrup. Maple usually adds a little bit of a better taste to a lot of food. Okay, I always use the coarse sea salt whenever I'm making these brownies because I like the texture, because you normally divide into like a little grain of salt, but you can use the fine if you don't like that.
It's got the chocolate sauce, it's okay.
Yeah, I know it.
Well, they're going to be chunky. They'll be like brownies with walnuts. That's great. I'm going to kind of go off the recipe here and add a tablespoon.
And you still have the chocolate sauce, if you stick it in the freezer, it thickens really nicely?
It will harden if you use a lot less agave, so lemon sweetener. So then it's more of a dark chocolate.
Just got another plate full.
Yeah, what's she doing? Cherry walnut.
Oh, hello. Cherry extract. I just heard you say that. Okay, this is black cherry concentrate, and it's no sugar added. It's not like something that you get at the grocery store. It's loaded in sugar and not really made from cherries. And it has a medicinal
It's very medicinal, very alkalizing. That's the main thing I give to people who have gout or gouty arthritis, excess uric acid, which will come from eating too much processed sugar, creates uric acid in the body. The black cherry actually breaks up those uric acid crystals. So if you've ever known anyone who has gout, it's very painful. And that black cherry will knock that out.
I know a lot of people who use this, because I was reading a little bit about it, who use it in like sparkling water. And then it kind of makes like a natural flavor soda, essentially. So you put this in, yeah, there you go. You put it in that.
I have this, yeah.
It's really reasonable. It's like $6 for this whole bottle. You only use a couple teaspoons.
And what would you recommend? My dad has gout, so what would you recommend? How much in a day?
Ask me after and I'll give you a couple things to do.
I don't even, I'm a party.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next Tuesday. Getting herbalism.
Usually the plain brownies, I know you said you
Teaching
just
about
up to date
all
on
the
some of
herbs
the
that
cherries,
they
you
do
still
and how
add
to
that
use them.
syrup in it?
Oh no,
You just don't, no dried fruit or no syrup?
Yeah, no syrup, no dried
It's gonna
fruit.
be a rolling thing.
You could add maybe like a liquid sweetener to sub for it, to sub for the black cherry. I don't know how wet this is.
Then on Thursdays, body.
Brains Thursday.
I'm not sure what that.
Yeah, he has the cranberry one. I'm very creative.
It'd be the last
I do. Yeah, I
Smash them up.
Oh, that's right.
I got the vanilla. Yes, with your clean hands.
Watch the same.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh!
Round it down. I'll eat that after you guys leave.
Sorry, messing up.
I heard that. Alright. That's good.
Hey, I would do that, so.
Say
I wanted to stay here for a bit.
yeah, thank you. At least it's brown.
This is why I could never have a cooking show, because I'm like the clumsiest. There's like knives going everywhere.
No, that's why you have an assistant. It's not clumsy like me.
Throwing, but no, that was me. Kind of smooth it out. Oh, we'll make, and then we'll make the cashew sauce while you're doing that. There's a blender in the back.
Yeah.
That would be good.
This looks so great.
You want to switch and let me smooth it out?
Yeah.
Okay, what was it? I went ahead and put in a little bit of it just to get it to move around, but then I forgot that I hadn't put in the cherry, so that's why it wasn't moving. Yeah. Snuck it in there. Like I said, that's the hard thing about writing a recipe for brownies, where it is kind of changes every single time. I always dehydrate. I always take this pan and pull a couple trays out of my dehydrator and put it in the bottom and dehydrate to dry. I mean, just get a little bit more even.
Anyway, it is fine.
Would you just freeze this and then like freezer fudge?
So I yeah. No, it's like for me and my mom. Garden water. Yeah. I do. I don't have any. I drink straight up. Well, they did.
Okay, so now we're going to make the frosting for the brownies. You don't have to frost them, but why not? And you can use this frosting on anything. You can add corn zest, essential oils. Oh, you could do like lemon essential oil and make it like a lemon frosting. You could do the orange essential oil. You could do the lavender, because lavender is fairly decent with chocolate. So you could do like a lavender essential oil. Yeah, I don't think essential oil is going to spoil it.
No. Never.
Okay, so a cup of cashews, and then 3 dates. A teaspoon of vanilla. If you're using a vanilla like this, you can use almost 25% of the amount that you'd use with an extract, because the extract has the curing agent, and usually extracts are 75% alcohol based, and this is